All right, so for today, you were to do some research about different Egyptian gods. Not an exhaustive list by any means, but hopefully you learned some things by looking up these gods of Egypt, something about their physical description, and maybe something about what their function or role was. So I have a list of possibly all the gods of Egypt here in front of me, and I'll scroll down through as you tell me what you have for each of the gods on your list. So let's start with Amelia. Who's the first god?
First god is Ra.
And who is that?
He was the sun god.
And maybe, well, hold on a second. Make sure everybody speak very loudly and clearly so I don't have to repeat everything you say so that those who are watching on YouTube will be able to know what's being said, okay? So start again, nice and loud.
The god is Ra, and he was the sun god. And his physical appearance was he had a hawk head.
Oh, a hawk head?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was his headdress. And his headdress had a sun disk.
Well, what's a sun disk look like?
It's like a circle.
Yeah. Very simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a circle there above his head.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And then he was most important.
He's the most important god. So kind of the king of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Anything in addition? Okay. Sometimes he is called Amun-Re with an A-M-E-N or A-M-O-N in front of it. Which remember Amun was quite possibly the name that the Pharaoh during the Old Kingdom got from whom? Abraham, maybe. And Amun is the one that they say is the God who created all the other gods. So Amun-Re or Amun-Ra, those two names seem to be associated together quite a bit. I also have that Amun, when he appears, is depicted as a man wearing a headdress with two tall plumes rising from a short crown. And then when he's appearing as Amun-Ra or Amun-Re, the sun disk is added between the plumes. So there's a connection there. Okay, who's the next one, Mia?
Osiris.
Okay, or Osiris?
His job was he was the god of the dead or the ruler of the underworld. His physical appearance, he was a mummified man wearing white cone-like headdress with feathers. And his level of importance, he was one of the most important gods because he was believed to have given humans barley, which was their main crop.
Oh, okay. So primarily the god of the underworld, or the netherworld, sometimes it's called. And when the Pharaoh dies, he becomes Osiris. He becomes the god of the underworld. Okay, anything else about Osiris? Okay, let's go to the next one. Zach, who's the next one?
Isis. I apologize because it's not going to be perfect because my handwriting isn't really good. Little. But what a productive goddess of woman is her job.
Goddess of what?
Productive goddess of woman.
Of women?
Yeah.
So in other words, she's the one that helps women give birth and produces children. Okay.
She wears a headdress with the shape of with cow horns on it.
Mm-hmm.
Pair of cow horns on it with a sun disk.
Okay. And does anybody have to whom she was married?
Osiris.
Right, Osiris. And she's not only, let's see, married to Osiris, but his sister as well. Interesting that Isis continues on in later civilizations to be worshipped as well. In the Roman Empire, they continue to worship Isis. Okay, anything else about Isis? Yes.
I had goddess of protection.
Okay, protection. Okay, protection of anything in particular?
That's what it's saying.
Okay. I don't recall whether there was something specific associated with protection or not. Do you have something else?
For the job on the website I had, it said she was the protective goddess. and that she used powerful spells to help people.
Oh, okay. So that would go along with protection. Anybody else? Okay, where are we? Griff, what's the next guy?
Horus.
Okay, who's Horus?
He was the protector of the ruler of Egypt, and the head of the hawk.
Right, hawk or falcon sometimes, you might say. And would you say protector of Egypt?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, does anyone else have anything more about Horus? Matthew?
I had a god of the sky.
Right. In fact, in the shape of a falcon, but the sun and the moon are his eyes. So indicating his ruling over the skies, the sky god, the ruler of the day. Anything else? Okay, that's it for Horus. All right, what's next, Noah?
Anubis.
Anubis. Okay, what'd you find out about Anubis?
He's the god of embalming and the dead.
Right?
He was a man with a jackal head, and he watched over the dead.
Yeah, and what's a jackal? You guys know what a jackal is? Anybody know what a jackal is?
Looks like a coyote.
Yeah, it's a dog-like creature. It's known for eating dead things. All right, and anything else about Anubis? So this is Anubis pictured in this coffin. So that's Anubis.
She was the most iconic of the gods.
What's that mean?
Well known. I guess you'd
Oh,
say.
well known. Okay. Anything else about Anubis? You see Anubis a lot in the tombs. You know, there's a lot of hieroglyphic. You'd be amazed when you walk into a tomb in Egypt, an ancient tomb, because the walls are just covered with hieroglyphics. And you see Anubis pictured there, in many of them at least, if not most. Okay, Matthew, who's the next one?
Is it Hecate or Hecht?
Yeah, there are different ways of spelling it. Hecht, it seems like the most often used.
Okay, goddess of fertility, and it's a woman with a frog head.
Yeah, isn't that attractive? Froghead. The goddess of fertility, so that would be people and animals and crops, I imagine. Did you find anything specific?
No, not really.
Okay. Anybody else have anything about Hecht? Okay, let's go back to Amelia. What's the next one?
Is it Apis?
Apis.
Was the first fertility god. Is it?
That's a he.
Okay. He and had a head of a bull
Uh-huh.
and was the god of the dead.
And anything else about description?
He was like the most important sacrificial animal that represented the simplest one.
Yeah. And give you a little preview, we're going to find that's going to be important in the lives of the Israelites as well. We'll find Apis coming up later. Did anybody find a description of his horns? What's between his horns? Matthew?
This.
Yeah, it's a disc representing what? What's the disc represent? Not exactly. What's in the sky? It's a disc. The sun, yeah. Okay. Have you got any idea? The sun is very important to the Egyptians. And so some of the major gods have a sun disk above them. Okay, so that's Apis. And Mia, next.
I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it?
Hathor, probably.
Okay. She was the protective goddess and the goddess of love and joy. She was a woman with cow ears, and a headdress of horns and a sun disk. And she was sometimes thought as the mother of Pharaoh because she was the wife of Pharaoh.
Okay, good. And so she's depicted as a cow. So anytime you see like a cow head, that's Hathor or Hathor. Anything else about her? I have also that she is the goddess of love, dance, and alcohol. Those things go together, right?
Oh yeah.
They probably did in parties. I don't know. All right. Let's see. Zach, and the next one.
Seth,
Okay, who's Seth?
god of darkness, and he had it typed in the head.
Yeah, and what did you find out about his animal representation?
Unidentified.
Yeah, no one can figure out what it is exactly. Okay, go ahead, Zach. What else do you have? Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Mia?
I found that he represented all that were in harmony in Egypt because he was the god of chaos.
Right. So that's an important thing to remember as we go on here too. He's the god of chaos. Anything else? Maybe associated with that, he's also considered the god of the desert. All right. Where are we? Whose turn is it? Griff? What's the next one?
None.
Nut. Are you calling me names?
Huh?
Are you calling me names?
No.
You just called me a nut.
No. Nut. The sky goddess. And,
Oh, you're talking about one of the gods. Okay.
Yes. And her body arcs across the sky and dresses stars.
Right, and this is a very interesting depiction. Did you see a picture of Nut? We'll see one later, but pretty interesting picture. John, you're not getting this stuff down?
I thought you were going to make me do it.
I said I wasn't going to make you do it, didn't I? Didn't I say that? Just realized that you were not writing them down. So maybe you will have to do it. All right, Nut. Anything else about Nut? Or Newt, maybe? Yes, yeah.
She brought the night by swallowing the sun god and giving birth to him each morning.
Yeah.
And then we've actually, I think we skipped over once.
Yeah.
Oh, we did?
I didn't know. I put Hoppy on the bottom. So he replaced Serapia.
Oh,
I didn't know
okay.
what to go to.
Okay, that's all right. We'll get to it. All right, so Nut or Nut is considered the mother of the sun, moon, and heavenly bodies. She gives birth to them and then swallows them. And when I get a picture up here, we'll look at that if you're confused. All right, what's the next one, Noah?
Hoppy.
Okay, and who's Hoppy?
God of the annual flooding of the Nile.
All right, so that's pretty important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you find a description? Anybody find a description? Zach?
Black-velvet man with breasts and a headdress.
Pretty odd. Did you see a picture?
Yeah.
That's pretty odd looking. You said headdress. When you think about the headdress, what was it like? Okay, good.
It had water plants on it.
Well, because he's the god of the Nile, the flooding, and so on. So that would make sense, right? Anything else about Hoppy?
He was blue.
He was blue. You mean he was sad?
No, he was blue.
Oh, he actually was blue.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Is that the last god we had?
Yeah.
I found one for Seraphia or Seraphis.
Okay. I told you you didn't have to do that one, but
Yeah, I found it.
all right.
So did I.
It was, I had
Serapia, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I had God of wine and God of medicine.
Okay.
And then a bearded man with a pot on his head.
Pot on his head.
That's all I found.
That's what I found.
Okay. That's interesting. All right. That's all the gods we looked up, right? Okay. So next, we want to see how these gods related to the plagues. I think. Did you have another question before that? Before we start the plagues?
Yes.
Okay. First is which gods helped make the transition into the afterlife? What do you say, Matthew?
Horses. Osiris.
Osiris?
Yes.
Osiris? Yeah, that's one. Another one?
Anubis.
Anubis? Any others that would help make the transition to the afterlife?
Gad. I Gad.
Wow, what? Yeah.
I don't know. That's just.
I'm not sure, but yeah. Any others? Okay, those are pretty good ones. And then the relationship between the role that God played in Egyptian culture and the religion and the attributes of the. Okay, so in other words, did the animal depiction have anything to do with what the God was like or what he was supposed to do? What'd you think, Zach?
There was often a connection between the god and the actions of the animal.
Okay, did you have any examples? Would you agree with Zach or not? Okay, what are some examples?
Horus
Okay, what about?
is a falcon and he's considered sky.
Yeah, and a falcon flies in the sky. And also, what does Horus do? What does Horus do? What's his job?
Protect.
Yeah. So falcon, you can imagine a falcon flying over, being viewed as watching over the land, protecting the land. Okay, what's another example? How God's role or description fits the animal.
I guess it's not an animal. I was gonna say happy and his like flowers on his headdress. But it's not an animal.
Okay, well, okay, that's okay. So it fits the fact that he has to do with the Nile flooding. You got the water plants. Okay. Another connection.
I had the goddess of war had a lion head to represent that she was ferocious.
Okay, good. What about Hek? What does that fit anything? What was Hek the god of? Fertility. So would a frog have anything to do with that? Huh? Well, what was the source of fertility in Egypt?
The Nile.
The Nile River. Okay. Does that have anything to do with frogs?
Frogs live in
The frogs live in the river. Yeah. So if there's lots of frogs, that means there must be lots of water overflowing and so on. Okay. So maybe, I'm sure it has some connection like that. Any others you can think of? Okay, I'm sure if we went down the list, we could probably think of some other connections as well. All right, let's go to the plagues, and we're going to go through them. And I'm not going to have you share what you have for each of them right now, but as we go through them with the slides, you can check to see if you were right or not, and you can either feel good about your answers or bad about your answers, whichever the case may be. All right, so remember that we're talking about the plagues that came upon Egypt, because Moses came and said, Yahweh God wants you to let his people go to worship him, and Pharaoh, who is Amenhotep II, said what?
No.
He said no. And so we're not going to go all the details of all the times he said no or yes, he changed his mind, but we're going to just look at the different plagues then that came upon Egypt. Okay, here we go. Now, what I want you to see, and I think you probably noticed already because of the question you had to answer, is that these plagues were not just random plagues. Each plague was directed at what? What was each plague related to or directed toward, Zach?
The gods of Egypt.
The gods of Egypt. How many of you knew that before? All right, isn't that something? Isn't that interesting? When I first heard that or figured that out or saw that, I thought, wow, God really has a sense of humor, and we're going to see it as we go through these. But God even said this to Moses in Exodus 12:12. against all the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgment. So Yahweh said, I'm going to bring judgment on the gods of Egypt through these plagues. Most of the plagues were not unusual occurrences in Egypt, but were proved to be supernatural, not because it happened because of their intensity. You know, for example, they had frogs. They just never had that many frogs. You know, so it's the intensity of it. And the fact that they came at Moses' command, and by the fact that Israel was not affected by 7 out of the plagues, out of the 10. After the second plague, the first 2, the magicians of Egypt sought to imitate. Remember, as you've read that, I think. But after that, they couldn't do it anymore. All right, so the first plague, well, this is not a plague, but the first miracle that Moses did was the miracle of the snakes. Remember what he did? Pharaoh says, why should I listen to, who's this Yahweh? I don't know who that is. And so what did Moses do?
He threw down his rod and it turned into a snake.
Yeah. And so was Pharaoh impressed? Not exactly. So how did he respond to that? How did Amenhotep II respond to Moses' rod becoming a snake? He jumped up on his throne, called for a snake exterminator.
He didn't think it was much because he thought the magicians of Egypt would do it.
In fact, he called in his magicians and said, okay, you guys do the same thing. And they did. Now, how was Moses able to perform that miracle?
With God's help.
With God. God did it, right? Now, how did the magicians do it? It had to be Satan, right? Demonic magic that they were performing. All right. And then, but what's interesting about what happened next? What happened? So you got Moses' snake, you got the magician's snakes. It's a draw. In fact, the magicians have more snakes than Moses, so they win.
No.
What
the
happened,
snakes
Chris?
ate them.
What?
They ate them.
Who's they? Moses ate them?
No, the snake Moses.
The snake Moses.
Snake Moses.
Moses the snake.
Moses' the snake ate the magician's snakes, indicating that God's more powerful than demons. All right. So then we have the 10 plagues, and here they are. Sometimes you'll see different names attached to them, but here is a list of the plagues. So we're going to look through them. Now, here are some of the gods pictured. You've already looked up some of these. Here's the cow goddess Hathor. Here is Seti or Seth. That's the same kneeling before the god Thoth, ibis-headed. And here's Akhenaten, whom we'll come to a lot later, making offerings to Aten. Here's the bull Apis with the disc. You can kind of see it there. And here's Horus as a hawk or a falcon. It's got the pharaoh crown on it. And here's just some other pictures of things associated with their gods. Here's another picture of a sun disk. Here's some of the gods that you've looked up. Let's see if we can figure out who they are. Who do you think this is?
Anubis.
Very good. That's Anubis. And what about this one?
Osiris.
No?
Dang it.
No?
Hathor.
No. That's Geb. That's not one you had to look up, so you wouldn't necessarily know that. How about this one? This one you did have to look up.
Poppy.
This is the one that Griff liked so much. Happy. Happy. Okay, let's see. This one you didn't have to look up. This one's a Sekhmeter, but you can see I think that's a sun disk. There's a kind of a lion face on that one. Let's see. Okay, this one you looked up. Isis, right. And this one? That's not the normal picture of her, but this is Nut, or Newt. Would it be better to call her Newt instead of Nut? You like Nut better? She's a Nut. Okay. Let's see. This one is Serapis, or Serapia. Yeah. Very good, Griff. And this one?
Seth.
That's Seth. And this, close, Ra. Yeah, that's Ra. Here is a gold statue. What happened?
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah.
Just passing
I put this up here and I thought you were looking in a mirror or something. It shocked you. I don't know what the deal was there.
Okay.
This is a gold statue of the god Amun. So we talked about Amun before. Okay, this is interesting. This is a statue of Isis holding Horus. So it's the goddess Isis, one of the most famous and popular goddesses of ancient Egyptian pantheon. She's the wife of Osiris and the mother of Horus. In Babylonia, she's known as Semiramis and Tammuz. I think I've mentioned at least Tammuz before. So notice that the continuation of mother and child, mother and child. In Assyria, it's Inanna is the queen, called the Queen of Heaven. In Assyria, Ishtar has a child Bacchus, which is not pictured there, I don't think, but sometimes is. Let's see, then we have, Ishtar has a cap of divinity on her. And then this last one is in India. And this right here, that broke off, but that was her holding a child. So another mother and child. So all through this, we've had mother and child, mother and child. In Greece, Aphrodite is pictured here, and she had a son whose name was Eros. You ever heard of Eros and Aphrodite? In Rome, Venus had Cupid. And then finally in Rome, Mary has Jesus. The pictures, the statues of Mary and Jesus are very similar to the other statues that we saw back through all ancient history. Here's another representation. So you have Babylon, Egypt, Sumeria, Asia, India, and Rome. With the Roman Church, we have brought into the church this idea of the mother and child cult. Interesting. Who is also called by the Roman Catholic Church the Queen of Heaven. Mary is called Queen of Heaven. All right, so I just thought that was kind of interesting, looking down through the ages. All right, let's look at the plagues. We can get a couple in here. The first plague is the Nile turned to blood. And what god did you think was associated with that? What god was being attacked by God and the Nile being turned to blood? What do you say, Mia? Okay, could be Hapi or Happy, the god of the Nile. That would certainly fit. Any others that you picked out? I think that's a good choice. I think there's one that is even a little more ironic, and that is Osiris. Osiris is the god of the Nile, which gave life to Egypt, and so here was the Nile that had always given life to Egypt, and now the Nile was bringing what? Blood, which is death. Also, the Egyptians believed that the Nile River was the lifeblood of the country, but literally the lifeblood of Osiris. And so God seems to be saying, oh, you believe that the Nile is the lifeblood of Osiris? Well, I'll turn it into real blood. Joke's on you. All right. So I would say both Osiris and Hapi would be good choices there. Here's Osiris. And here's Hapi, who we've seen before. All right, any questions there? Okay, next we have frogs. Who is the god being attacked in frogs? The idea of frogs. What do you think, Zach?
Hecht.
How many said Hecht? Yeah, the different spellings. He was the god who controlled the frogs, and apparently the frogs were out of control. Can you imagine? Everywhere you walk, you're stepping on frogs. Wouldn't that be pleasant? It was like God said, okay, you guys worship frogs? I'll give you frogs. So many frogs that when they die, they're all going to be heaping mounds. They're going to be stinking all over the place. You have to shovel the frogs out. Yeah, you want to worship frogs? There you go. And here's different spellings of the god. Okay, the next plague is dust was turned into lice. Now, the priests of Egypt were very careful to be free from defilement of insects while they're worshiping. More than any other culture we've seen, the Egyptians, especially the priests, believed in it being very clean and especially free of insects. So it's kind of an attack on the whole religion, but especially, Zach, who did you think?
Again,
Geb. Why Geb?
I don't know.
Yeah?
The god over the dust and the earth.
Yeah, because where did the lice come from? You remember? What did Moses do?
Like from dust.
Yeah, he threw dust up in the air, and the dust turned into lice and just spread all over the place. So you can imagine, no, this is not lice, but might give an idea of what it was like that the whole air is filled with lice. Oh, isn't that pleasant? Just in case you've never seen lice. There it is magnified in somebody's hair. And of course, what you have to get out are the eggs, which are called nits. You have to pick out every little nit. Otherwise, you'll have lice multiplying in your hair. I've had to do that to my daughter. My son, we just shaved his head. So, my daughter had blonde hair, trying to pick out the lice she got from a friend's house. And then she spread it to my wife. So, picking out these things, it's terrible. Have you ever had to do that? Those combs you get, they don't work. You got to do it by hand, strand by strand. Spend about 8 hours one day picking up nits. So not fun, and that's what the Egyptians had. All right, the next one. Oh, and that was against Seb, as we said. Next are flies or beetles, blood-sucking flies. And what god did you think that was against? Matthew?
Capri.
Said Kepri, okay, and why?
The god of like creation.
Okay, there was more specific association of Kepri with what animal?
Flies.
Or beetles, specifically beetles. And what's called a scarab. That's what a beetle is a scarab. And I have one here. It's given to me by our guide Mito. This is the scarab, a very important part of Egyptian worship, the beetle. Or those of you that had Mrs. Henry in first grade might remember the dung beetle. How many had Mrs. Henry in first grade? Only one of you. Wow. Okay. Do you remember the dung beetle? Yeah, she always liked those, didn't she? And this is a scarab or a dung beetle. And we'll talk about what role they play in Egyptian mythology here. So we have Kepri and also Ra, the sun god, was helpless before Moses and Yahweh. So Kepri, K-H-E-P-R-I, and Ra. And here's a picture of Kepri, or the beetle. All right. Looks like that's all the time we have for today. So tomorrow we'll complete the plagues and see what other gods are being attacked by Yahweh. before tomorrow, I want you to do some reading. I want you to read Exodus 7:6 to 12:50. It's on the board up there, Exodus 7:6 to 12:50. Since I'm having such a hard time getting interaction from you, I want you to take some notes. I want you to write down the main things that are happening. You don't have to take detail, but I want you to at least write down an idea of what is going on in these chapters. All right, you're dismissed.